This episode was brought to you by Awesome, AWSM. Awesome is a platform that makes it super easy for companies to give ownership to the people who are creating value for them. It's like Venmo and Stripe, but for equity. Brands can easily share ownership with their agency partners, their influencers and brand ambassadors, their fans and customers, and their employees. Learn more at awesome.com, awsm.com. So today I'm super stoked for this one because you really made me work for it. You really made me work for it. So this is like I finally got a date with the cutest girl in the school, kind of a concept. I was like, yes, this is happening. I've been working on this for a little while, but my guests today are Nate and Vanessa Quigley, who you guys maybe don't know how much I respect and admire you, but I've been a big fan, respect and admire. I was just telling them before we hit record, I watched them kind of meet and date and like this romance blossom like way back in the day. This was like, I don't know, like 100 years ago, right?
Yeah,
it feels like 100 years ago.
So far long ago that we don't even remember.
Yes.
I can't remember anything about it.
We're all getting a little old, so we can say like, oh, this was so long ago. But I remember these guys kind of meeting in college and always being, the one thing I remember about both of you that I'll say, not to embarrass you, but you were both so classy.
Ooh.
I felt classy is a good word, I think, to use, because when I met you the first time, you were with like a group of friends, and I met you, in college, there was a bunch of and I might have been in the punk category, like a bunch of idiot punks, but you were able to have fun and do cool stuff, but you were always like kind of dignified and kind of classy.
It's his East Coast upbringing.
I was probably wearing a turtleneck.
It was the Harvard. Yeah, it was the Harvard in you.
I was probably in some kind of like J. Crew on.
Yeah, that I was just thinking like, man, that Nate is a classy guy.
I know. It's part of what drew me to you.
Yes.
His parents, they eat off of real plates. When I went to visit
No
them,
way.
not paper plates.
No way.
That's my life.
That's how I kind of closed the
Florida.
sale.
Yeah.
Vanessa came to visit Connecticut.
There's
She was
real
like,
dinnerware here.
Yeah.
There's real dinner.
my mom like really put out a nice breakfast one time. I think that was it.
I was like, I need this in my life. Yes. Gentrification.
Yes.
I'm in.
That's
Nice.
hilarious. No, you really remember the whole thing because Vanessa was the most beautiful girl at school. Like,
No.
incredible red hair, walking.
Well, there
everyone
was
could see it.
that. There was
Everyone
like,
knows.
wow, Nate got a.
You're like, how did this idiot?
we all did wonder that. Yeah. To be honest, we were like, what
I did
the-
too. I mean,
We're like,
we were all
he must be
confused.
so rich.
We were all confused.
Yeah. Super rich or
Enough,
super funny.
guys.
No, it is like that's,
was-
I walk around with my wife, who I'll brag on a little bit, but like I've heard people say like that dude must be rich or funny or both. Yeah, because they're surprised.
Don't underestimate funny. Funny goes a long way.
I think that's what sealed the deal, honestly. Like my wife's like, yeah, I think if you weren't funny, I wouldn't.
Funny lasts.
Yeah.
Money, it can comes and goes, but funny, you
Yeah.
need funny to get
Yeah,
through.
that's right. To get through all the stuff. And we're going to talk through some of the stuff that you guys needed funny to get
Yes.
through. But anyway, I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for you both as individuals. And then on top of that, it's been really cool to see this thing that you've built together, Chatbooks. So I want you to tell us the story, the origin story of Chatbooks, how that came about, and then how it's grown over the years. It's been we're past 10 years now.
It'll be
Knocking
10
on the
in
door.
June.
10. Okay,
Yeah.
knocking on the door of 10 years.
Yep.
So that's a great run. And then we want to talk about like, where does it go from here? What is the next chapter of Chatbooks look like? And then, how it's been working together as a couple, right? This is unique that not a lot of couples build business together and stay together. So it's been challenging, I'm sure. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But
Awesome.
Vanessa, tell us how it started. I know you were kind of.
I know.
And
I was
from
kind of
that,
wanted
you're-
to hear his take on it. I
Oh,
usually
okay.
tell the story.
Well, so
but-
no, here, maybe we should have, let's do this. This will be fun. Let's have Nate tell it. And then you
Yeah.
just correct him in all
I
the
will
ways.
just
that-
interject.
Yeah, interrupt and say, no, that's not how it really
Let's
works.
see how your memory.
Well, so let's see if I can
on
come up
this
with it. But
Okay.
it's actually a way longer story, which I won't make it a long story, but it goes back further than 2013.
Okay.
Believe it or not. In fact, just to kind of throw it right back at you. In 2013, we moved to Utah from Florida
Mm-hmm.
with a totally failing business
Mhm.
that I was totally responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
the failure of this business, as Vanessa knows.
Well, this doesn't have to be restricted to Chatbooks, so maybe we should start.
Well,
are we going to tell that story?
It was the origins of Chatbooks.
Okay. Well, so what was this business?
Okay, it was called at the time when we moved to Utah, Just Family.
Okay.
And it was, to simplify it, it was kind of like Facebook for your family.
Okay.
The idea that there was a sort of a, the first, third, and second place, like Starbucks is the third place, home is the first place, work is the second place, and like the pub or the cafe or whatever is the third place, like where you can go outside of home and work. And we just had we, meaning me, I had the thought, wait a minute, there's like a second place and a third place on the internet. There's like LinkedIn and Facebook, but there's no first place. There's not like a home on the internet for your family. Yeah. So Just Family was trying to be that.
Okay.
And it goes back further than that even, but I won't bore you with that whole thing.
I mean, does this idea go all the way back to like college
The idea goes back to 2004.
I mean, because this was pre-social media at that point, right?
Right. No, it was kind of born when Claire was born. So like 20 years ago, our daughter Claire, he went to his grandpa's funeral, and there was a recording of his grandpa singing Home on the Range, which was the song Nate had sung to our kids.
Okay.
It was like a family kind of heirloom song,
And it just, in the shuffle of the funeral, it disappeared. And he wanted to play it for our kids and could not figure out, like, why would something so precious disappear like that? We need to have a place safe.
Happily, it did get found. But like it got found 5 or 6 years later.
Okay. So it wasn't like stolen.
No, it
misplaced.
Actually, one of my cousins had taken the tape out of the tape recorder and taken it to her room, and she was very close to my grandpa.
And she didn't record in sync over it or something.
No.
Luckily,
she would listen to it because she was very close to my grandpa. And then, unfortunately, my cousin passed away tragically from a terminal illness that she suffered from. And as my aunt was cleaning out her room after she passed away, she found the tape, and she knew I'd been looking for it. And so she contacted me. She said, "Hey, I found that thing I think you're looking for."
Did you cry?
I cried way too much. I cry all the time.
This journey is sprinkled with his tears. He's very passionate about family and family memories.
So is he more emotional than you?
100 times more emotional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I cry probably 100 times every one
I
time.
usually have to finish his sentences when he gets verklempt.
Okay.
Yes, it's true.
I love that.
Oddly enough, like on the drive up here, Dave, my mom texted us a thing, and we were going to say a little quick prayer for my mom. And I was saying it as I was driving, holding Vanessa's hand, driving on the road, and I got verklempt again.
Is she okay?
She's good.
No, she's playing in the tabernacle on the organ in the tabernacle, which is a big deal.
She's just nervous.
Okay. So like that's a way better prayer than I was hoping. Like, we're here at this podcast, but my mom's about to die in the ICU.
No, just a little nervous.
I love her mom. His mom is amazing, and she's doing something that is pushing her outside of her comfort zone.
Okay.
And
is she a little shy, a little introverted? Or?
No, she's just a little nervous.
Okay.
She's going to be playing with Richard Elliott.
Okay.
The organist.
Okay.
Anyway.
Huge deal. All right.
He's a little emotional.
Yes, that was a long little detour on.
I love it.
And this thing that he had started building was a way to hold on to these precious memories that everyone should have access to. Like, so let's create this enterprise software that will allow families to hold on to their memories.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep it in the cloud. And it's going to be amazing, and people are going to write journal entries, and they're going to share. And
so it was like before Family Search existed, there was kind of no place to put these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So they got lost.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was called Folk Story.
Okay.
Which evolved into Just Family.
Okay.
Which eventually evolved into Chatbooks. And I was just going to say, you said some nice things about us, but when we moved to Utah, it was in part because, the business is totally failing. And where we were in Florida, we just felt totally alone. Like there was no one where we were starting companies.
Yeah.
We'd been there running another business. And there was lots of, stuff going on in Florida, but just no entrepreneurship and definitely no consumer entrepreneurship.
Was it your family that kind of took you guys to Florida originally? Because you're from Florida, right? Is that what encouraged you guys to go there in the first place?
It was a combination of like an interesting career opportunity to kind of run a technology business that had been started and was based there.
Okay.
And Vanessa's family.
Okay.
Yeah, those two things together took us to Florida.
But then you're like, maybe
then we wrapped that up.
Yeah.
We wrapped up that second business. It was sold to a public company, and we wanted to, I say we. This is like royal we. Like, I really wanted to start this other thing.
Like, we went to Harvard Business School.
Yeah.
I get the.
Yeah.
Well, I'd been, so this 2004 moment, that kind of been percolating in the background the whole time I was running this second company.
Mm-hmm.
And we were kind of like writing periodic checks to like, designers in Russia and developers in India to try to kind of build this thing that would basically be a good place to put Grandpa's Home on the Range, recording.
Yeah.
And for my family to be able to share that. So it was kind of always percolating in the background, but I had a full-time job and I was really busy. It was kind of like the passion project, and it was going nowhere as a passion project. It was like the world's most expensive scrapbook, by the time we were kind of done with this business we were running in Florida.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, sold the business in Florida. Now it's full-time on Folk Story at the time.
Yeah.
And the only reason it's not, taking off is because I'm not spending all of my energy on it.
Okay.
So Vanessa was like, okay, sure.
Let's do it.
Sure, Nate. And it was more like, you go do it, because Vanessa was not involved.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Right.
I thought
you really
it was
didn't want to be involved.
a noble effort. Like, this feels like this is better than, what he got offered something at Pepsi. And I'm like, you're going to be selling soft drinks? No, let's do something
Yeah, this is meaningful.
Yeah. And, we had some money in the
No
bank,
offense to our friends at
Hey, we love
Pepsi,
Pepsi.
No.
Pepsi's great.
but no, there was like some deeper personal
Yes, a higher
attachment.
calling.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So it's something I would cry over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all the time.
Let's be honest though, does he cry over Pepsi?
I mean, I would.
He
If
does
you
sometimes.
told the story
He's
the right
now
way.
a caffeine-free Diet Coke guy. And
Okay.
if they don't have it somewhere,
Then he
you
cries.
can get it.
Okay. All
It's tough.
Okay.
Yeah. So just real quick, I'll get it back to you so you can give how we actually started the business has actually become a business. But we moved from Florida to Utah in kind of a last ditch effort to save just family,
Okay.
because we'd been working on it now for like full time. I'd been working on it for almost 3 years. Hadn't paid ourselves a penny in 3 years.
Okay.
Had written lots of checks to other people in that time. And the cupboard was like getting bare. You know what I mean? It was just really a scary sort of, holy cow, I have 7 children. I have lots of career opportunities. And I basically like invested everything that the family has.
Pause
and
for
can
1
find.
second. By that point, you guys already had 7
Yeah,
kids.
we had 7 kids.
Yeah.
And that's how many you have, right?
Uh-huh.
So you had your your kids by that point already.
And we had like a,
Oh my gosh.
career.
Okay, that's a lot of pressure.
We had a career that's going well.
Yeah.
Lots of different other opportunities. And I just get this crazy thing on my brain. Like,
You could have been the CEO of Pepsi.
I don't know about the CEO of Pepsi, but
you would have worked your way.
Yeah,
up.
you would have done it.
well, anyway,
You would have cried your way to the top.
I'm just getting to the sort of, the podcast, Brand, Sweat, and Tears, like the tears moment. We've already talked about my tears, but there was a moment where I'm like staring off into the middle distance, like, we're dead.
What am I doing?
What have I done?
Yeah.
And that was in Utah after this last ditch effort to like, okay, we got to get out of this place where there's no technology entrepreneurship happening, where there are no technology investors.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, where there's no consumer marketers, like, that's the problem. We got to get into another place where we can meet some other people that can help us figure this out. One of the people I saw soon after arriving in Utah was you and Bubba Page up on stage at the original Start Fest that the Gundersons and Clint Betts put together.
I remember that. That's the one where we smashed.
You smashed the telephone. I'm sitting in the back of this audience and I'm like, wait a minute, there's like 1,000 people here all trying to start businesses.
Yeah.
And look at these 2 guys. They're kind of a little bit like me. Like, I'm finally at least in the neighborhood of people who understand what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And it was really actually a motivating moment.
Oh, that's cool.
Because it's just gotten really lonely and really, sad.
Yeah.
That we just kept building this thing that wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is also just seeing you, sadly, Dave, was not quite enough to get us out of the wilderness. I mean, it was helpful.
I was hoping that would be the story.
But the deep
magically,
moment,
just being in my presence, like made it successful.
Like literally a couple of months after that, still not working, still writing checks to lots of people. We had raised a little bit of seed capital at that point, but we didn't have like a product that was going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally had like the famous 3 a.m, can't sleep, wander around your kitchen in the middle of the night, like, what have I done moment. And luckily, a couple of days later, Vanessa could realize, okay, he's not figuring this out. Like he's not going to figure this out.
Yeah.
You came storming down the stairs and like actually had the idea, the epiphany.
I know.
You should tell that story.
Yeah. How did the idea come to you?
Well, my youngest child, who was 5, getting ready to go to kindergarten, was bawling his eyes out in his bedroom, and I ran up to check on him, expecting to find blood or something.
Yeah.
And no, he was just laying there looking at a little photo album.
No way.
And crying over how much he didn't want to grow up.
Got that from his dad.
He was feeling the feelings and crying. And I was relieved it wasn't anything scarier. But then I have felt this crushing amount of mom guilt that I used to be a scrapbooker. Like I used to really work hard at helping our family hold on to our story together. But, 7 kids, not a lot of time.
Yeah.
Now all my photos are digital and they're basically just stuck on my phone. But some of them I was sharing on social media. And I just had this thought that if he could just see at least what I've printed on I posted on Instagram, he would see that there's more to his life than that 1 year of preschool, which was in that photo album.
Yeah.
And I sometimes would lay in bed and look through my photos on my phone, but I'm like taking all the devices away from this kid. Like I don't want to have to give him an iPad to look at his photos. So I just thought, there's a bunch of smart guys working on Just Family. I wonder if one of them could figure out how to print my Instagram. That will help strengthen families.
Yeah.
I believed in the mission that Nate was chasing. He was just going about it at a way that wasn't working for me personally.
Yeah.
And this thing would help me. So I remember going downstairs and saying, "Hey, babe, I got an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way you can figure out how to print my Instagram, like automatic photo books?"
You actually prefaced it by saying, that thing you're working on, I don't want to use it. My sisters don't want to use it. My friends don't want to use it. Nobody's going to use it.
I might have said that.
That was how she started.
Had you had that honest of a conversation before, or was this like, hey, I've been supportive, I've been loving, but the honest truth is we all hate it?
Well, I used to gather my friends together to do focus groups on what he was building. And everyone was so nice. Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Oh, this is really...
The friendship bias. That was like
I
saying
should
what
totally
you want
do
to
this.
hear.
Yeah. And then
say that again, because when you hear this, you need to go the opposite direction.
I should do that. I should use that.
Should.
Yes.
Yes. When they drop the should.
The kiss
when you hear should, it's like, oh, time out.
Time out.
I'm really going the wrong way.
Yeah.
And usually in those conversations it would come up like, well, is there a way that I could print this in a book? I'm going to lean in and write these entries and gather these stories. Can I print them in a book?
Mm-hmm.
And the quick response from Nate was, no, you don't want a book. Print is dead.
Yeah.
This is all going to be safe on the cloud.
Yeah.
And
another thing not to do when you're getting feedback from people is tell the
customers, you're wrong. You're wrong. As my 3 years of crushing success would prove you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Instagram had become the enemy in our home because, why would I post something on Instagram when I could put it in Just Family?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, no one's on Just Family, and I kind of want to share this with my friends and my sisters.
And they're already on
I used to hide in the bathroom to post and to look at Instagram because there was a wedge growing. So no, we had not had an honest conversation. I had been going behind his back. And anyway, in this moment of vulnerability,
Instagrammer.
I might have said some things like, this thing sucks. We're not going to use it. We don't care about it. Print my Instagram.
And happily, at that point, Dave, I had reached the moment of humility.
Yeah.
Where the entrepreneur's like, actually, we're dead.
Yeah.
And I'll take any good ideas anyone has.
Yeah.
And this was an amazing idea. Like really quickly, you're like, whoa, print your Instagram. That should be a thing.
So I want to double click on that just for a second. For all the creators and the entrepreneurs out there, all 5 of them that are listening to this podcast, this is part of what I think is so valuable is like this huge lesson learned for you was you had what you thought was this fantastic idea and you were building it and you were working on it and you were even going through the motions of like
talking to people,
getting feedback, doing this, like the feedback groups and stuff. But it wasn't the real raw, like, no, let's just be honest. Like, this isn't working. Here's what I really want. Yeah. And you had to get humbled to the point of like, okay, now I'm ready to listen instead of just argue with this. Right?
I'm like digging around in couch cushions for like the last nickel. Yeah. It took me to that
level. You had to be rock bottom for what the feedback for it to kind of sink in.
And I actually think this is like the main conundrum for entrepreneurs because you do have to have an absurd amount of grit.
Yeah.
Like you do have to block out a lot of hate.
Yes.
You have to block out a lot of really reasonable, smart things that people who care about you will say.
Yeah.
Because it's never the right idea.
Yeah.
On a spreadsheet to like start something from scratch.
Yeah.
Versus do the next opportunity that's sort of handed to you because of what you've already been doing.
Yeah.
So like you have to get in this weird place where you're like kind of blocking everything out.
Yeah.
But the thing you cannot block out is what your actual customers are truly showing you by what they're doing and what they're telling you. And I think it boils down to that word should. Like if you're listening to who your customer should be, and they say, yeah, that's really cool. Like that's neat. I should totally do this. And you're like, oh, good. That means they should do it.
Yeah.
They will never do it.
They will never do it.
Like the word should.
Your mom will do it.
Yeah.
His mom was
My
our
mom
best.
was a great Just Family user. She was the best.
But that
was
is
she
not,
the target audience, or she was also doing it because
No,
she
she's
loved
my
you?
mom.
Oh, 100% because she loved
She's
it.
just my mom. Like,
No, like the target audience were my friends,
You.
me, and my sisters, and they were all like, "Oh,
We
yeah,
don't
that
like it.
thing's really cute."
all the people who were saying, like, hey, I want this printed out in a book. And I was like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
I'm just so
Yet
dumb.
we had a prototype of the, Instagram series,
Yeah,
which
after
became
Vanessa
our big
said-
hero product,
Yeah.
and the response was very different. What did they say?
This is how you know. So should is like, that is not ever going to work.
Yeah.
That's just a polite person who just is in an awkward situation looking at you thinking, I hate this. I'll never use it. But they can't say that to you.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that before, but now I do. What you actually have to listen for is like, how do I get mine? Like, can I give you my money right now? Because that literally happened. So Vanessa said, hey, could you guys figure out how to print my Instagram? Like something like 2 weeks later, we actually had a bunch of books with her Instagram printed in it because we have an amazing, co-founder, technical co-founder, and a couple other amazing guys on our team at the time who were able to whip it up and make it happen.
Yeah.
And then had some other friends who had a print shop. So like some things came together really quickly. We actually had Vanessa's Instagram printed out in a bunch of books and a stack of books. Brought them home. She's into it. Our kids are looking at them. They're excited about it. I'm like, okay, well, this is good. Like no one else has ever done. Vanessa's like not really ever used Just Family. Like even though I've been working on it for 3 years.
I used it.
You
I
did.
did.
Use it.
Well,
she tried.
Anyway,
dig into the archives. There are some
but
things
this
for
is
me.
where it got great because then we show that little stack of books to Vanessa's sisters, and we're like, "That is so cool! Like, can I just give you my credit card numbers? Like, can you make mine?"
Okay, they were ready to just pay right there on the spot.
Never heard anything kind of like that before. So, Vanessa's sisters, a couple other people are like, I want the same thing. And then we're like, okay, well, this is it, right? So pretty quickly, all of our energy is focused on launching Chatbooks. Very first Instagram post we ever did. Heather Mildenstein, incredible photographer, also the core customer, amazing marketer in general. She takes this gorgeous picture of a stack of, Chatbooks. And we post it and we say, hey, we're Chatbooks, whatever, something, here it is.
Yeah.
And Heather got a couple of her friends who also had the right kind of followings on Instagram to post about it. And that first post, like 3 comments down, it was like, shut up and take my money. There was someone wrote hashtag shut up and take my money.
Those are the words to listen for.
If you hear that,
that's the feedback you want.
That is the sound of product marketing.
Yes, that is.
Should is you're dead.
Yeah.
And shut up and take my money is like, okay, this is it.
Okay.
So that was the dawn of Chatbooks.
So then you were going.
It emerged out of this sort of steaming dumpster fire of Just Family, sadly.
Yeah.
That I've been working on for, at that time, almost 9 years since we first wrote the first check that was starting to develop the world's most expensive scrap.
We poured nearly all of our savings into it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
No, actually, all of them.
As soon as Chatbooks started growing, and we were like, we got to keep up with this. We had to raise money. So
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a good
that was
fundraiser. But
well, maybe we can talk a little bit about that because that is part of the challenge of building something. Is like, do you try to do it on your own? Do you fund yourself?
Yeah,
There's a lot of benefits to that.
Yeah.
But there's also sometimes it's necessary to get that capital from investors, and then this whole like, how do you pick the right investors? So I want to get into that a little bit. But before we move on, this one last thing that I want to make sure we didn't gloss over too quickly is the difference for you, beyond just the shut up and take my money, was the observational behavior.
Right.
And to that conundrum that you were talking about is you might be getting a lot of advice from people that is just terrible advice. Or terrible, like, no, I want that, or I want that, and it's wrong. So you can't be pulled in 50 directions. To your point, you do have to have a pretty thick skin to say, I believe in this thing, and I'm going to have the grit and the like perseverance. But the flip side is, in getting to that early product market fit is, and this is ironically, Outro, the company that you saw Bubba and I pitching, we failed, and this was neither of our first, this was not our first startup for both of us. So you would have thought, at least I thought, I got it all figured
Well,
out.
that's why I thought it. This
I
is my
totally
third.
understand.
This is gonna be my third company.
I know everything at this point, right? No, we had to get humbled again.
Yeah.
But one of the key things that we realized there was we thought we were doing a ton of customer research. We thought we were talking to hundreds of people and getting like, yes, 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 yes. So we thought we were validating.
Right.
But then when we asked them to do something, they wouldn't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they would do something different.
Yeah.
And it was not because they were lying to us. They were actually surprised when they got in the moment of their own behavior.
Yeah.
Like it was like, wow, okay, that feels weird, or that feels different. And so when you're building something or when you're trying to create something, I think you have to pretty quickly get to this point of like the actual use case and have them do it.
Right.
And you've got these books in your house, your sisters and other friends and family are like, okay, I want one. Then you're like, okay, now we've got
100% agree.
Adding more features does not make the product fit better.
Yeah.
Like, we could see that people were not climbing on to Just Family.
Yeah.
You know, busting down the doors to get in. And so kept thinking, oh, we'll just make this bigger and better and more complicated and add more features, spend more money.
Just Family.
But that was not.
I actually think it's related. Maybe what you're talking about with Outro, like when you're talking to people, nobody wants to tell an entrepreneur unless they're really close and they can do it really nicely and quietly.
Yeah.
To, hey, you should stop doing this.
Yeah.
You want to figure out like, well, yeah, I should use that. But then you want to kind of add, what if it could do this?
Yeah, yeah.
So people are
like helpful advice or something.
They're trying to be polite. They're trying to be helpful. They don't want to be, jerks. Like these human beings don't like being jerks to each other.
Yeah.
So I think you end up thinking that you're so desperate to hear some feedback that you're like, oh yeah, if we just added that one thing, that would be the thing.
That will unlock it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just isn't.
Yeah. The observing the behavior is so key. And in fact, at the top of the whiteboard, as we started really focusing on really solving the problem that our customer had, I remember Nate writing lizard brain.
I wrote lizard books.
Lizard.
I wanted books that a lizard could make.
Yeah.
And we wrote 0 clicks.
Yeah.
So, Just Family really required you to like lean forward, type a lot, move your mouse around a lot, like think of a journal entry you were going to write, add 7 photos, format it. Like it was.
Build out your family tree.
Yeah. You had to build out your family tree.
Yeah.
So there's like all kinds of work that just no one has time to do a bunch of work.
Yeah.
So the amazing thing about the original Chatbooks, and we've since evolved a lot, kind of in different ways from this, but you just had to log into Instagram and tap one button, and then a stack of photo books came to you automatically.
Yeah.
And they were really affordable and they shipped for free and they looked great on your shelf. Like there was no work at all required. And that, I think we got to that realization after the 3 years of pain, kind of adding 18,000 more features and thinking everyone's going to be their best altruistic self at all times. Like, no, we're not, number one. And we don't have any time for anything else.
Yeah.
But if you just log in to your Instagram and click a button, like, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But I completely agree. It's like, watch what people do, don't listen to what they say.
Yeah, because it surprises them, even if they're being nice or whatever. Like they didn't realize that they would
doing the
behave
best
a
they
certain
can.
way, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so fundraising.
Okay, yeah.
What made you decide? I mean, sounds like it was necessary.
We were desperate.
Like, okay, we
were out of money.
have to have money.
Like
because you're printing these books ahead of like realizing the revenue, or like what was the challenge?
Great,
okay,
because you collect. The customer pays, and then we have
it was a monthly subscription.
At the beginning, it was on a per book basis.
Okay.
So you would add, your 60th photo would go into your book, and we would charge your credit card, and then we would send the print file to the printer. They would print it. We would pay the printer like 30 days later.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, because the original idea was print your Instagram, and that was back when people were using Instagram as a journal of sorts, just sharing photos and captions. And some people would post a lot. So every 60th post would become a new volume of your book.
They paid you for the book at that moment in time. So prepaying.
So again, we had negative working capital cycle. It's great.
Okay.
You don't have to like.
So how does that not indefinitely scale?
It could have.
Okay. We just wanted to
grow
it out faster.
Earlier.
Okay.
That's what I think Vanessa's totally onto it. Like there was just a moment in time where that was the perfect moment.
Yeah.
And it was, okay, we have to jump on this moment now. And I think we were right in hindsight. Like the print your Instagram product kind of ran out of steam a couple years later. As people's Instagram habits really changed. But in 2014, you had a backlog of posts you'd been doing for the last, couple of years. And you still had a head of steam that you were going to do for another couple of years. So in 2014, June, when that launched, was kind of like that moment. And I think it was the right idea to raise, an A round and really go after it. And we raised a B round kind of right on the tail of that moment and had to figure out, well, what's the next sort of hero product?
Apply this growth capital effectively. When you started, were you ever worried, or at what point did you maybe start to worry, okay, we're building this on top of somebody else's platform. Are they going to shut us down?
Oh, yeah.
Are they gonna,
literally from day one.
So how did you navigate that? You're just like, well, let's just cross our fingers, or like, what did you try to do?
Well, we built something else really stupid. We named it after his dumb dog.
Oh, no.
She's adorable.
Now we're getting into it. I love it.
She's a bulldog.
Let's talk about the dog hate.
She's not dumb. She just doesn't care.
She just does as she pleases.
That's right.
Okay.
She's the cat of dogs.
Does not consult with or...
Are you a general dog hater or just this specific dog?
She loves this other dog.
I love my son's dog, Rudy. Okay.
Okay. What kind of a dog is Rudy?
He is a Brittany Spaniel, and he's adorable.
Okay.
And
but no love for the bulldog.
No, because the Brittany's are like, what can I do for you next? I'm a hunting dog.
The bulldogs are like, I don't care.
Bulldog doesn't care.
He's a honey badger. He doesn't care.
Bulldog don't care.
Yeah.
No. We knew that our customers, one of the things that they loved about Chatbooks as we launched was that they didn't have to do anything. It was like automatic, right?
Yeah.
But how can we then tackle all of the photos in our camera roll in this automatic way? And we're like, AI, machine learning. Like, we're learning all this about what makes a good printable photo with all the millions of photos that we are processing. Let's, build a model that will apply and will automatically curate your camera roll for you.
This was a combination of saying, hey, it's maybe dangerous for having all of our eggs in the Instagram basket, but also people have all these valuable assets in lots of places. How do we help them?
How can we
give
them
something
benefit for having to do nothing?
Yeah.
That was the magic of Print Your Instagram. And so we spent a lot of money building a machine that would...
And yes, we did call it Roxy.
We named it Roxy after his dog, his bulldog.
She was the chat pup. She was always in the office.
Yeah.
And, we thought we also did...
And what was Roxy?
Research.
Was it an app?
No, it was just inside the app. It was just
it was built into Chatbooks.
It was just, hey, we can auto curate your photos for you.
Okay.
Because we've printed, literally billions of photos.
Yeah.
Or at least billions of photos have been added to the system, and we've seen which ones people printed and which ones they didn't print.
Okay.
So with that,
with AI and
just
face
say, hey, these are the most printable ones.
Okay.
We had a printability score.
Okay.
That we could, quickly run through your camera roll and say, these are the most printable photos.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Ben Taylor, good friend, family friend, was involved.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, okay.
Ben was. And
he's an AI genius.
Ben and Gonzo are AI geniuses.
Okay, yeah. Give those guys a shout out.
Yeah.
It absolutely wasn't that we didn't
So cool tech.
Photos. The
cool
tech was awesome.
Yeah.
But the user behavior was tough. It was kind of like asking someone, and this is back in 2018, to jump into a driverless taxi that doesn't have a steering wheel, doesn't have pedals, maybe doesn't even have a windshield. You can't see anything. Just like, trust us, we'll take you there.
Is this my coffin?
It was a little too scary. And what we've come around to, and we've adapted a lot of that technology to our current sort of version of the app. It needs to be like driver assistance. Like I press a button, but my hands are still on the wheel.
I can still grab it.
And I'm still driving, and you're just kind of slowing down for me in automated cruise control before I run into the next car.
Yeah.
But I'm still driving. You're just helping me. And I think, but it took us a couple of years.
Yeah. So I want to dive into that a little bit. Is like, you just had this lesson, this experience. So why do you think it was a struggle the second time? Like, what was missing from the lesson that you learned previously, do you think?
Oh man, Dave. I wish could you find that out for me?
I'm like,
you're going to tell all of my listeners. All 5 of my listeners are ready for you guys to drop knowledge bombs.
I think being an entrepreneur is this tricky balance between, you have to really believe in some crazy stuff that doesn't exist, that you're going to kind of bring, that you can bring the market to. Yeah. Balanced with, no, the market doesn't want to go there.
Yeah.
There's also, I think, there's a poster on the wall at Y Combinator, or at least there was back in the day. There's a Twitter post from Sam Altman, the founder and CEO of OpenAI now, when he was running Y Combinator. And they would interview people for Y Combinator. And the only thing in the room was a poster that said, build something people want.
Yeah.
Which is from Paul Graham blog post.
Yeah.
It's really easy to forget those 4 words.
Yes.
Well, and as far as Roxy goes, we thought we knew this is actually what people want, because we were failing before. We created Print My Instagram, which literally you just log in, click a button, you get all of this stuff for having to do nothing.
Yeah.
That's what they want. So let's give that to them.
Yeah.
We thought we knew that they wanted us to curate their camera roll.
This is why that poster's so
We got
powerful for
cocky.
me. There's this whole entrepreneur mindset thing, but that poster is also really powerful. Those 4 words, just like keep breaking them down in your mind as an entrepreneur. So we knew people wanted to do no work and get photo books into their house.
Yes.
They did want that.
Yeah.
We couldn't build the something that could do it well enough for them. So Roxy was great. And Ben and Gonzo's, robot was incredible with a little Roxy, face on it.
Yeah.
He did a really, really good job. But he didn't want to get in a driverless taxi. And even though those books, the Print My Instagram books, showed up automatically, I didn't have to do any work. I had already done work on Instagram in little bite-sized pieces and been rewarded with dopamine for doing it. But I'd curated my photos myself. I picked the one I wanted to share, and I'd written a little caption about it. And so I did want to be involved in that process. And when some robot dog comes in and says, hey, print these 50 books, I'm like, no. I don't even know what you're talking about. Who's this robot dog? Why that picture? Why not this other picture? It wasn't, you couldn't actually build it.
Yeah.
You couldn't fully replace like the sensibility that Vanessa would have as she would pick the photo she wanted to share and crop it the way she wanted to crop it. Even though we got a photo that looked a whole lot like it, it was like an uncanny valley book. It was like close enough, but not quite right. And it just was rejected.
Yeah.
So that the build something part, like, can you really build Vanessa's curation brain? Like, no. So people wanted it, but we couldn't build it.
There's a lot of emotion, not just logic. It's not just that it's a quality photo. In fact, ironically, it might be a crappy photo.
That's right.
But there's some emotional
100%.
part.
So gratefully, over the years, we've been able to land on something that feels more like driver assist that can give people the books that they want without having to do tons and tons of work.
Yeah.
But I think you can kind of like double check your work.
Is it still sitting on top of Instagram?
No.
Okay.
So, I mean, we do print Instagram photos, but like maybe 3% of the photos we print each year from Instagram.
It's been really hard, though, to get beyond that incredible marketing push that we were able to do with that Series A.
Yeah.
We did Harmon Brothers video. We drilled it into everyone's minds that we print your Instagram.
Yeah.
Because to this day, people will come up and be like, oh, I love Chatbooks, but I don't use Instagram anymore.
Right.
And
like, yeah, no one does.
Yeah, no one does.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Okay, so tell us about what is the current version look like then?
Yeah, so it's, you want to
No.
books?
You take it. No, because
month books.
Well, month books is you just print directly from your phone. Like we have tools that help you, narrow down to these are the photos from this month. And here we're going to clump the duplicates together. We do use some of that software that our friends built to help, make that process easier. But it's just breaking up in bite-sized chunks. Month books. You get a book every month that help you hold on to everyday magic. And to your point,
so it is looking through my photos on my phone.
Yeah.
Well, it's helping you corral them.
And I'm still involved.
Yes, you get to make the final choice.
Right. And it's smart enough to say, ooh, that's a screen capture of your invoice from this thing. That's not a photo.
So driver assistance instead of the driverless car.
And the subscription thing, before it used to be, we would create a volume based on, 60 photos that you've printed. So now, creating a subscription that people want, people with a lot of cute young kids, they're going to have a lot of photos and maybe they want to print 60 photos each month.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're like us and we're in this stage of life where we have a bunch of teenagers and young adults and we can barely get photos out of them. And I don't really want a book of just me and Nate fishing all, 24/7.
Yeah.
So our subscription looks a little bit better.
I've seen some good fly fishing photos of you guys.
Some good fish in the net.
I've seen a picture of you that was phenomenal where steam coming off of the upper Provo and you're like fly fishing. I've seen
better.
We have some good moments. But yeah, Vanessa's right. Like the product has had to evolve a ton in the 9 years we've been at it, and we've stubbed our toe and missed it again and again. And right now it's really working super well. Like our subscription product is doubling almost every year.
Nice.
Profitability is also expanding. It's working, but it's funny. Had we not been frenetically kind of working at it all 9 years, there's just no way.
Yeah.
The Chatbooks that was growing really rapidly and super successful in 2014 would be out of business now.
Yeah.
If we hadn't, been able to kind of link the next
what's next
version of the
Well, so let me ask you, this might be an impossible question to answer, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
If you look back at that second wave of struggle, in retrospect, is it obvious now oh, we should have done this? Or is it like there's no way to get to where you got without just going through the fire?
Guess I would like to think you could be smarter and avoid the...
I know.
But there's nothing that's like, oh, if we would have just done this thing, that would have been so much better. I mean, there's the part of like, hindsight's 2020. That's not what I mean. What I mean is like, oops, we didn't apply this lesson that, we should have known. Or is it like, honestly, there was no lesson learned that we could have applied. We just had to plow through the fire.
I mean, I feel like for the sake of your listeners and any other entrepreneur out there, like I would like to be able to say, this is what we should have avoided.
Yeah.
Please avoid that.
Yeah.
But I think we came into that second wave like, okay, we need to listen to our customers. So let's do a lot of customer research.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what they want. Again, we didn't quite...
Applying all the best practices.
Yes. I really, truly think there are some things that you just have to flub your way through. You have to fail that to get through, and maybe even to something that you would have never stumbled upon without failing. Because through that second wave of like, holy crap, this isn't working and we're running out of money again, like we had to do some other things in the business that produced some really interesting insights. Like we can't keep spending to acquire customers. Let's pull all of that back, which then wouldn't you say we like learned a whole bunch of other things about how our business worked, and that, so you have to, I always like to look at the silver lining, and I don't like to look back with regrets. Would you say something you would have done?
I've just been thinking about it. I think
wait, before you say something, I want to really highlight what you just said there. I think there is so much magic in what you just said. And the point of what this whole thing is, you might have read all the books. You have an MBA, I have an MBA. I have done startups that failed after I'd had other successful startups. You would have thought that with my education formal and my real world education, I would have had it all figured out. I'm doing another one right now. I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be successful, but there's still no guarantee, because what you said is you can go through doing the best practices stuff and think you're doing everything by the book. But there's this aspect of entrepreneurship that's just figuring it out, learning as you go, experimenting and learning from the experiments and iteration and all that stuff. And a lot of investors, I think, might not like to hear this and not like to support that. But there's some of it is just, you just gotta go through the fire. You have to go through that tough process, which you guys wound up or ended up in a great place and have had success. But that's part of, I think if you're an entrepreneur, I think if you're a creator, you have to love the process.
Yeah. I think it's well said.
It can't just be about this outcome, and you kind of have to not give up too soon to feel like, I'm passionate about solving this thing. I care about this thing. We're going to figure it out. And ultimately, my perspective, again, this is the philosophy of life according to Dave, is one of my favorite quotes is the Teddy Roosevelt quote. I still don't have the whole thing memorized. I should, but I'm not as smart as Nate.
He's a huge T.
I do like T.
Yes, so do the one, the man in the arena. Yeah.
I can't.
Do you want to do the whole quote?
No, I can't do it.
But the gist of it is that the man whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood and tears and whatever, that at the end that you die having the sense of satisfaction that you were in the arena and you gave it your best shot, even if you didn't end up victorious, right? Like that's the gist of it.
Totally.
And I think that's for creators and entrepreneurs, you just have to say, I'm in it for the experience, for the process. And I absolutely hope that I get the best outcome, but not getting $1 billion exit isn't necessarily a failure. It's this whole process of like learning and growing together and figuring stuff out.
I completely agree. And there's like a mental health aspect to this too. Like, and you have to stay sane to sort of stay in the arena, right?
How have you guys stayed sane?
I was just going to talk about attachment to outcome.
And maybe this is tied to like, how have you stayed sane and stayed married?
Yeah.
It's very related. Question. This attachment to outcome.
Yes.
I
think just to Dave's point, you have to actually enjoy being in the arena.
Yeah.
And not be like, I really want to be on the podium, like in the medal.
but I don't want to
maybe you'll
get in the mud and the dust.
And you might not ever get to the medal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe I'll be on the podium. Maybe I won't. I don't care. I'm actually just wanting to be in the arena because I like being in the arena.
Yeah.
And I think
that was a huge life unlock for me, by the way. That's a whole separate story. We'll get into it, but it was a life unlock do I just care about the podium, or am I a warrior? I learned that like I actually like the sport.
Which is awesome. I think that's the only way to actually stay mentally healthy through this whole process. So maybe that's the first test of like, hey, do I like this sport? Would I play this sport for free?
Yeah.
If so, I should probably be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And if
you
not,
did play it for free for years, babe.
You paid
to play this
heavily to play the sport. It wasn't just for free. Like you paid good money to play this sport.
And I think that's you should be an entrepreneur if you're willing to do that.
Yeah.
Because you enjoy the process so much.
Yeah.
Because if you are focused on like sort of net worth, don't do this.
Yeah.
Like there are just better ways to kind of build a wonderful, successful, sort of happy family life.
Yes. When I first started, I wanted my face on Utah's Mount Rushmore of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted people to talk about me like they now talk about Josh and Todd, and James, like the Ryan, like the guys, the
it's
entrepreneurs.
Like natural to have that in the back of your mind, but you have to force it out of your mind. So I love tennis, and there's a whole bunch of this attachment to outcome stuff in tennis too. Like Rafa Nadal is the best at this. He just only plays that point. It's like the only point that's ever been played in the history of tennis is the one he's playing right now.
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of times he's won the French Open.
Yeah.
But he's just playing points.
Yeah. I heard about a sports psychologist talking about this on a podcast a month or two ago. So
there's the whole
specific example.
The inner game of tennis. There's a whole bunch of stuff about this. And I do think that's like very much
for golfers, like it's just one swing at a time. It's not like they're not wrapped up in the whole tournament. It's just like one swing.
You can't swing.
Yeah.
I do think there might be some things you could remember. I'm going back to that little poster at Y Combinator. Y Combinator has birthed the most, sort of successful startups and not successful startups. Like even Y Combinator,
all the things you can learn there. Yeah, tons of failures.
It's not the, exactly. But build something people want. I wonder if you could just keep breaking that down 1,000 different ways and making sure, am I capable of building this?
Yeah.
What is the something? Do people really, really want it? How do I know?
Yeah.
I think that you could probably, if I go back in Chatbooks history, had we sort of stared at that poster every single morning and like had a devotional about it, maybe we could have,
you had arrived at the conclusion maybe quicker.
I think
more quickly.
I'd like to hope so. But the other poster I'd like to make sometime that I would hang in my little sort of startup, whatever studio would be, don't quit, don't run out of money. Because in the end, like that's the only way a startup fails.
Yeah.
And the quitting is kind of wandering out of the arena saying this is just, too hard.
Yeah.
You might end up pivoting a whole bunch. But the mission of Chatbooks is actually the same as the mission of Just Family, as the mission of Folk Story, as the original idea, of Folk Story way back in 2004. Our mission is to strengthen families.
Yeah.
That's the same.
Yeah.
A lot of other things have changed. Even inside of Chatbooks, a lot has changed. But what we're actually trying to do
why
hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And so if you have the same why, then it's just don't quit, don't run out of money.
Yeah.
Running out of money is also really important, though. You can't run out of money.
Can't run out of money.
You can I haven't quit. Yeah, but you can't make payroll, so you're done.
Yeah, that's right.
So but how could you avoid I don't know. I think it's staring at that other poster and really like
build something people want.
Can you build it? Do they really want it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
Because even, Roxy was like, yeah, you're right. People wanted no work photo books, but we couldn't build the thing that could do it well enough. Even though we built a thing that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
It just wasn't,
Yeah. They still wanted to have, the driver assist, right? All right. How have you guys stayed sane and stayed married?
All right, V, you have to go here.
I think if we had tried building a business together 10 years earlier, it would not have gone as well.
Really?
I think I was in a better place.
What was the difference in the 10 years?
My kids were older. Our oldest was in college. Our youngest was in school all day. I didn't have as many, demands on myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a number one thing. Like when I talk to my friends who have a bunch of little kids at home, like there's just so much work that comes with raising little kids.
Yeah.
And starting a business is a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I think we were in a good place in our family. I think our marriage, we were in a good place in our marriage. Like early as newlyweds, like Nate is a entrepreneur, like to his core.
Yeah.
He would love to talk late at night. Like, if we could build any business together, what would it be? Like, that was pillow talk. And
You talked about building a business together.
And I'd be like, I don't know. I don't care. Whatever. You know, I had my own little dreams and things I was working on.
But you were not dreaming about like, hey, let's build a business together.
I definitely didn't think we could do it together because like we're both oldest in our family.
Yeah.
Like I like being the boss of my world. He's a boss of his world.
Yeah.
I don't want him bossing me around, vice versa. Like I just did not think that that was a recipe that would, you know, end well. Even when I gave him my Chatbooks idea, I said, you do this. Like I'm not going to be part of it. I'm going to go get my yoga certification and go get my master's. Like I had other things.
Yeah.
Until I realized like this thing that they're building.
We were doing it wrong.
Why is it that color?
And we were
why
it wasn't
that
just
font?
that simple. It was like, oh, these guys need a lot of help.
You know, I'm the customer. So anyway, I realized that like they need my help too. But I think, you know, we'd been married up to that point, like 20 years. And we had worked through a lot of hard things together.
Yeah.
And, you know, we know how to work together and we respect each other. And we had this business that like meant everything to us. All of our wealth and, you know, was in this business, and our family means everything to us.
Yeah.
And so how are we going to be able to continue to build our family in a healthy, meaningful way, and this business, which is, you know, hopefully going to be the thing that we do for the rest of our lives? How can we do this together, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's looked different during different seasons of the business. I will say, you know, like based on the fact that if we both care equally about our family and the business, what happens when our family needs more attention?
Yeah.
Like we have to like give and take. So it's been a beautiful experience.
It's been awesome
for us together. And I feel closer to him now after 10 years of building the business, in part because, you know, I didn't really care what he did during the days when I was staying at home and singing and he would go off to work. I just wanted him to come home and help put the kids to bed and get the baths ready and stuff. And so I've had like a front seat look at like how hard this is. And he'd been doing this for all these years and I never even once asked about it. Like so I've, you know, gained a lot of respect for him.
That's cool.
And I
That's
think
really
it's
cool.
also been really good for our kids to see us doing this together. And yeah, like dad was an entrepreneur, but they have gotten a front seat look at what that is like and watching us like do something really, really hard. And then it gets exciting and we have a success and then we're back to hard again. And, you know, whether or not they want to be entrepreneurs, some of them do. I think there are principles that they can apply in their life. Like find something that you're really passionate about, that you care about. Find a partner who you can get along with. Like if you're going to bring on a partner, like a good partner is key. And then just keep going at it. Like through the hard stuff, you're going to rise from the ashes eventually. And I don't know, it's just been fun to see our kids. In fact, our daughter just applied to college and she wrote an essay about this and specifically about me, about how like she has some dreams and watching me as a mom, like work really hard at being a mom, but also work really hard on something that I care about and put myself out there outside of my comfort zone doing hard things. Like that was a tender moment.
So cool.
Awesome.
It's so cool because you are a fantastic example, I think, of both of you, like balancing, like family is core. If it ever came down to it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would bet right now all the money I have that if it came down to it and you guys had to choose family or business, it would be family for sure, right? Like you would have said, this isn't working. We're not willing to sacrifice our family for the business. And one of the fantastic things, to your point, that I've benefited from, to your point about pick a good partner and have a good support group, is if my wife at any point during my entrepreneurial journey would have said, it's me or the business, I would have picked her for sure. It would have hurt. I would have cried my eyes out, but I would have picked her. Yeah. And luckily, she never put me in that position. Yeah. We had a lot of tearful nights like, holy cow, what are we going to do? Like, we are out of money. It's frustrating. We've been working so hard. What do we do? Like a lot of that. But to her credit, she never gave me that ultimatum. She never said it's me or the business. And you guys never had to pick like it's our relationship or it's even the relationship with our kids or it's the business, right?
I think you really, if you're thinking about entrepreneurship, you do need to somehow figure that one out.
Yeah.
Because there was an early business where, I remember you coming home and saying, we're not going to be able to make payroll. And my brain started spiraling. And I was like,
That was the first business.
well, his parents have a basement. Like they'll let us live. We're not going to be on the streets. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It never would have dawned on me to say, what you're doing is insane. Stop right now. Because I believe in him.
It didn't dawn on you, but that there's absolutely are relationships where that would happen, and you just have to figure out, okay, we can't have this kind of a career.
Yeah.
And that could be fine. Like it's not for everyone. Right. It really isn't. I don't think.
Well, and maybe even, in that point, it's like, maybe that particular business wasn't the right business, right? But you have, by the way. You did?
Yeah, we did. Nice. We got to celebrate in Bermuda.
Oh, nice.
That was.
All right.
I had a bank statement taped on my wall that had.
And then you subsequently blew all of that money on your next.
For sure. 100%. Yes. But $382 in the bank.
Wow.
At the business.
Okay.
We actually had more in our personal bank account than in the business bank account for one payroll.
Nice.
We somehow survived.
Got to. That was literally like it was
like
the
fumes.
Moment. Okay.
Fumes.
No, luckily, I think we both have a little more appetite for risk than your normal.
So, but it's the point of like, okay, maybe it's not this particular idea, but a support group that supports what it takes to be willing to, go through the really, really hard stuff and then keep trying to figure it out, right? That the support group is pretty key. I think every entrepreneur that I've interviewed and some that I've mentored and coached and invested in, like all the relationships I have, there's this pattern of like having a good like support system, a support group that is more highly correlated with success.
I totally agree. That's what brought us from Florida to Utah.
Yeah.
Is that I was feeling super lonely. And I needed some other entrepreneurs who were like, oh, you're not totally insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're dealing with that too. Here's how we're going to.
Yeah.
And, seeing you and Bob on stage, I'm not kidding. I distinctly remember you guys smashing that phone and looking.
That was fun.
Like, wait a minute. I'm not the only guy doing this.
Yeah.
That was before you were involved. Mm-hmm. But I think, also having this really having the right kind of relationship with your spouse or partner is essential. Like it would be so hard. Can you imagine if you were like, okay, the business is failing, you go home and your wife is like, what are you doing, moron? Yeah. Like you should have stayed in consulting. It would be a disaster.
Yeah. It'd be really hard. Yeah. For sure.
And by the way, that the spouse who's like, what are you doing, you crazy person? She's probably right.
Yeah.
And it's very normal to have that reaction.
Yeah.
You just shouldn't be an entrepreneur if that's where things,
or at least you can talk about it and say, here's why I'm doing this, or here's what I think is happening. And that there's some like the ability to kind of discuss that as a team rather than it just being like the hate, even if it's kind of like the quiet, like resentment of like, I can't believe you're
That'd be even
doing
worse.
This, right?
Well, I think that's why you use the royal we. Whenever you talk about your career, it's always, we did this, we did this, we went to business school because we got married before we graduated undergrad. And I was all in. We were in it together.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we've been, together building this business, it's not really that different than, except for me, it's very different. Sometimes I wish I had my old life back, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, I mean, let's talk a little bit about it right now. It's like, so what does Chatbooks look like now today? Where do you go from here? And there's this other thing, Hey Fam.
Hey Fam.
Yeah,
that's like, is this another learning? Are you going through the fire on that one?
Probably, but here's what's great about Hey Fam. It's actually just family.
Okay.
It's your home on your phone. I mean, it's literally the same insight.
So you're like, you couldn't let that idea go.
No, it's true, Dave. It really
it's also another way to help get photos into your books. Like it is with we have a goal and in mind. And it also like, it's related to the journey that we continue to have with our own family. We started the business 10 years ago. Our family looked really different. We behaved differently, and now 10 years later, like I said, I have a hard time getting photos from my kids. Like I want their photos in our books too, but they're all doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But we all like each other still, thank goodness. And we chat with each other a lot, texting. And we're like, this is like, iMessage becomes a mess and there's all these photos in there. So Hey Fam is a place to chat with your family. And we share photos as we always do. And then I can easily use those as a photo source in our book.
Just this morning, Dave. I mean, I'm not kidding.
Okay. This is hot off the press. I have an exclusive.
Oh,
I have an exclusive.
I mean, this is not that exciting. But on the way out the door, I saw the month book. They just arrived yesterday.
Yeah.
I opened it up. I'm like, wow, I haven't seen these. Wait, are these from Hey Fam? And all of the photos in there, Vanessa had printed from Hey Fam. into our, this last month book. And it was pictures that, I'd put in there, that Vanessa put in there, but there are adult kids that put in there.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun.
Okay.
And that's the whole idea behind the business model of Hey Fam is just Chatbooks.
Okay.
And that's maybe the thing that allows us to finally build Home on Your Phone.
Yeah.
Or we couldn't build it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because we didn't have the business model, among other problems.
Yeah.
But now we don't have to charge you for this product, Hey Fam. It's free.
Yeah.
Because some percentage of our users will print some percentage of those photos. And, we know how to make money printing photos.
Yeah.
So it's just a way we think going to be the easiest way
to suck people in.
And back to this whole idea of easy photo books is the basic aha of Chatbooks. But as we talked about with Roxy, it's hard to get sort of easy, and I still want to pick the photos together.
Yeah.
Hey Fam, you do that. You just chat with your family, and then you have all the best photos and you print
them.
Yeah.
Now let's take everything we've learned in the last 10 years and market the heck out of this the best way and have a blow up.
Let's have Dave help.
It's going to be like Instagram for your family.
Yeah. Well, so
Facebook for your
what
family.
do your sisters say about Hey Fam?
We love it.
They use it.
We use it.
They actually use it.
If you like your family,
In fact,
you're going to love
check
Hey Fam.
myself. Not what do they say?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Okay,
They're actually using it.
We use it a ton. It's actually like Slack for your family.
Okay.
Like we have a family for our nuclear family.
Yep.
We have a family for the Quigley extended family.
Yep.
I'm one of 12 kids.
Yeah.
We got a lot to say. We've got a family with Mun's World.
Yeah.
And we're constantly sharing photos. You can make different rooms. Like actually the most active thread is the no rents thread where my parents are not invited and we talk about my parents.
Do your parents know that exists?
Now they do.
News.
Because your parents are in my target demographic for my podcast. I appeal to,
Vanessa
for some reason,
they are
like old retired couples that feel sorry
they
for
will
me
listen,
to
Dave.
my podcast. So
They
are in my core
everything
demographic.
that I do.
Okay, all right. Well, now they know that
there's a no rents channel.
Oh crap!
Okay.
No rents.
Don't forget.
Should we edit that? Should we edit this out?
No, it's
okay.
Roll it.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah, so that's Hey Fam.
So let me ask you a question. My family does that with GroupMe. Why would we switch to Hey Fam?
Because you can't have a no rents channel in GroupMe. You have kind of well, you can make a separate group.
Yeah, I have separate groups.
This is the idea. Is like imagine the family is like the Slack workspace.
Yeah.
And then you have multiple channels inside of that family.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's who knows if it'll work.
A lot of families, we've done our market research, and a lot of families use GroupMe, WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Smaller families, they can use iMessage.
I mean, I will answer I will use it because I love you guys.
Oh,
but I mean, this is the legitimate question.
That's like my mom.
How do you get the families who are like, we do this on GroupMe? Why would we do it in a different app?
Plus, GroupMe, and I open GroupMe. It's the soccer team, it's the dance team. It's like there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
So opening that app is just like, in fact, I don't want to see that message from our neighborhood, watch club or whatever.
Right.
But Hey Fam is a happy place. That is where I love opening Hey Fam, and I see posts and pictures from my kids and from my sisters and from his parents, and it's that
Have
place.
You converted people from
so we've got
GroupMe and stuff over there? And so they're like, the reason I did it is because there's so much junk in GroupMe that maybe that's just my
I think they're different
weird space, and like Hey Fam is.
And if you care about
space.
Chatbooks, it's a seamless photo source for your books.
Yeah. But to your point, Dave, how do we actually I don't know. We have thousands of users on Hey Fam.
Yeah.
Most importantly, we have time to kind of continue to figure it out because we have a thriving,
this core profitable business that you can build from a position of strength.
That's right. Yeah. Where if Hey Fam were the only thing we were doing and we had a fixed amount of capital would raised or savings would piled up and there's a runway and we're literally going off the cliff in 5 months, it'd be pretty hard.
Yeah.
But we've actually been working on Hey Fam as a little sort of side lab doodad inside of Chatbooks already for over a year.
Yeah.
And we can kind of keep doing it forever. And it's just basically, you could talk to your board about it. Hey, it's multiplayer chatbooking. And they're like, oh, well, that sounds important. We should do that.
Yeah.
And it is. And you're not making it up, but there's a real rationale for why we would continue to work on this. But not secretly, officially, I love it because it's the thing I've been trying to build for 20 years. I get to kind of keep trying to build it.
Yeah. Over time.
But
this
now we have a way of paying for it. It's literally folk story.
Yeah.
So who knows if it'll work or not, but we are really excited about it. There's a third version. There's always the next release is going to be the really awesome one.
I've heard this story before from you guys.
From us today on this podcast.
Right
so
now.
the third version goes live right at Thanksgiving. There's going to be a little email from Vanessa and I saying, check it out to our, Chatbooks users.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But we're really excited. But we actually love it.
Okay. I will check it out. In fact, I did download HeyFam way back in the day. Tried to invite all of my friends.
Nobody did it.
Family, crickets. Yeah,
Right.
nobody did it.
No,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Hey,
It's
well,
gonna be hard.
I know. It's with
But
my big
but
family.
there's this other timing thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, Instagram's getting gross now. Like,
Mhm.
like to your point about like nobody uses Instagram like they used to. Maybe it's also this timing,
Mhm.
which is a big entrepreneurial thing. It's like
For sure.
you had a great idea, it just wasn't the right time. Maybe now people are like, I'm getting kind of sick of Instagram because it's so many ads and it's so much junk that I didn't even ask for getting shoved
Yeah.
down my throat.
And you know what? Like my family used WhatsApp for our group communication for years.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm getting spammed on WhatsApp all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm done with WhatsApp. I want
Yeah.
it off my phone.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a timing thing. And I think people who have been able to successfully communicate with their families on other platforms, they're going to get sick of it too. And they're going to come.
Yeah, I think the timing is really interesting for you
The
guys.
thing you have to believe is that you would want to, at the level of the iPhone icon, decide I'm going home,
Yeah.
I'm going to work, or I'm
Yeah.
going to the third place.
Yeah.
That's the big bet. Like, do people want to have a home on my phone button?
Yeah.
Where that's the only thing that's in there.
Yeah.
Like on iMessage, you never know. I mean, it could be, an automated message from Chatbooks telling you we have a sale, like
Yeah.
something annoying like that. We would do
Yeah.
something annoying like
Yeah.
that. And every other brand,
Yeah.
or a text about, hey, can you stop at we're out of dog food? Like, is that what it is? Like, all I see is a little red bubble on my iMessage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm going to get when I click that thing.
Yeah.
If I see a bubble on HeyFam, I know what it is. It's like my family talking to each other, my family sharing pictures.
Yeah.
I'm going home.
Yeah.
When I click. So that'll be the big bet.
I love that.
People
I'm
want
going
that.
home.
Yeah.
I love
That's
that.
oh,
Do you want a home on your phone?
yeah, I'm going.
Have you guys used that? I'm going home.
No, but we are going to.
Okay. I guess
Okay.
we'll
And
That's a good one.
I know there's a song.
There
maybe
is.
Going home.
maybe we'll send
Yeah.
an email on Thanksgiving that
Yeah.
says, "Are you going home?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They've
Go home for the
that.
holidays.
That's what it is.
There we go.
Boom.
That is our
Go home for the
marketing tagline,
holidays.
Home
Yeah.
for the holidays.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. That actually puts it in a little bit better perspective for me to say, I think my family in our discussions is like, I mean, I know my parents
Mhm.
hate Facebook and Instagram,
Yeah.
but it's a necessary evil. Like
Right.
they are just there because they see pictures of the grandkids and
Totally.
videos and stuff like that. But man, if they could have a pure place where it's just that stuff, they would be excited.
And the good news is we'll never have to pollute it with ads.
Yeah.
Because we already have this business model that
Yeah, you have a model. You don't have to sell us.
Mhm.
will never change the algorithm to kind of like and show you,
Yeah.
stuff that we think is going to, be more, polarizing or
Yeah.
engaging to keep, so
Yeah.
I think that's why it could work.
Yeah.
Dave, to your point, it's a stunt for sure to make one of these things work.
Yeah.
And we'll have to
Just like deep user psychology
That's
that
right.
even following, like we said, all of the best practices,
Yeah.
it's tricky to figure all that out.
It's
right?
going to mostly be, can we not quit? Can we not run out of money? Can we stay in the arena and not go crazy
Yeah.
long enough
Yeah.
to kind of figure it out?
Okay. So what is the next chapter for you guys and for Chatbooks? You said want to do this for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
Is that how you're approaching the business? I
Say
mean,
that
you
again. I wanna hear that again from you.
absolutely.
Those
You've
words did come out of my mouth
Okay.
I mean,
today.
I
Yeah, it's
think-
recorded.
That I don't know I've ever heard her say it
Okay.
quite with that much fervor.
I
but
think
wanna hear her
I
say
was
it again.
talking about a different moment.
You get
in
approached to
time
get
where I felt
Okay.
that way.
Yeah.
No,
You get
I would
approached
be-
to get bought out, I'm sure,
Yeah.
all
well,
the time.
and that is a possibility.
Yeah.
And maybe that will happen one day. I think for me personally, like I really am passionate about our mission to strengthen families.
Yeah.
This has been really fun to do together.
Yeah.
I'm going to have my first grandbaby in a few weeks.
Congratulations.
And so I'm ready for another chapter that
Yeah.
allows me to be, grandma and
Yeah.
not work as much.
Yeah.
I think he's in it for the long haul. Like this is what he loves, even on the days that he complains about it.
Yeah.
Like he literally will choose to do this over anything. He went downstairs to work out this morning. He came up saying, I worked on an email instead. Sorry, I don't have time. I got to get dressed.
It's 6
Like he
weeks
will
apart.
always
This is the holiday,
choose.
right?
This
Yeah,
is true.
this is
We
the
are in
moment.
our
Yeah.
I did write
Q4
it from
push.
the
Yeah.
weight bench. I didn't lift
Nice,
the weight, but I
nice.
was in the room.
Yeah, you sat on the bench. Well, so this is an interesting point.
Mhm.
You have investors.
Mhm.
Are your investors in it with you for the long haul, or they're like, hey guys, at some point we need to get an exit here?
Yeah, so they haven't said it yet. Like they're not banging down the door, bugging us, but we also just know how it works.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to provide liquidity to our investors.
Yeah.
The way I think it will happen is we'll just have a new investor.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have a new investor buy the company.
Yeah.
Provide liquidity to any investors that want to, trade their shares in at the price. And we'll just be off to,
But as it stands right now, and this might have been a reveal between the two of you that you revealed, like, I'm in this for the long haul, that you graduate to a new level of investor. But as we're talking about right now, you could just keep doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm realizing that, like, we set goals. Like, January is so exciting. You set all these goals and you're like, the end of the year, we're going to have this. And I think it's great to set goals. And I think it's also good to be realistic that, like, often those don't pan out the way you think.
Yeah.
And instead of being like discouraging, it actually feels like, oh, but next year's going to be the year we're going to do that. So we keep inching closer and closer. And so I think both of us are like, oh, think about where we're going to be in next year. So we're kind
still exciting.
Yeah, it's still exciting. There's
there's
so
like
much potential growth.
Yeah.
I feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
And to your mission, I am such a believer in your mission, because I feel like every social app that comes up and pops up just instantly gets sucked into the vortex of, like, it's trash. It's like the worst of human behavior. And there's no place for the best of human behavior and or the best of, like, the people that I really care about, that I just want to have meaningful connections with. And the original idea of Instagram of just sharing photos with my friends and family, people I care about, like, that's all gone, right? And the evil empire, I'm going to say it, Meta's going to never sponsor this podcast, because like, I refer to them as like the evil empire, but I feel like they've sold their soul just to make a buck. And a lot of the things that we originally loved about the purity of social media is completely subsumed or annihilated or whatever, overshadowed by the almighty dollar. And this miracle, if you will, of finding this profitable business model in an unlikely place, the printed Instagram, has now enabled you guys to maybe come back and say, we don't have to sell our souls to build a good social experience for friends and family, right?
I mean, drop the mic.
Seriously.
Honestly, that's exactly what I think, what I believe, and what I hope. So, and luckily,
you can use that clip.
No.
Freely in your socials.
Because it's exactly how I do think, weirdly, that it's been a long journey, but I think we've kind of now earned the right to be able to do the thing we wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah.
Because it would support this existing business model that we also know is part of our mission. Like, I didn't realize at the beginning that printing photos into photo books was going to be part of strengthening families. I definitely know it now.
Yeah.
We've done a bunch of research on that topic and we've just seen it. We've seen moms sitting with kids looking at books. Like, that's it. That's the whole thing.
No, my daughter last night looking at photo books, like printed photo books. So there's still this, in a world where she's completely inundated by digital stuff, there's still this tangible beauty and like emotional attachment to like the physical.
We still have hands and fingers. We pick stuff up.
100%.
We're still really connected to artifacts. And I think pulling it out of the cloud, out of the stream, out of the feed or whatever, and just sort of slowing it down and putting it in your hands, like it does hit different.
Yeah, something's still magical.
I said hit different. Like, I keep thinking all these little Gen Z things because they're so hilarious. These Gen Z words that my kids use.
Yeah.
That I use them just to make them.
I should have said facts.
Facts.
No cap.
Yeah, bruh.
Awesome. That's such a good place to end. I love you both. Thank you so much. This was definitely worth the wait.
A lot of fun.
And this is really great.
Thanks for having
I'm excited to see the Going Home for the Holidays campaign.
We'll do it.
Cool.
We'll do it. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.